the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is Tim Albright with AVNation with an AVNation special, an incredibly special AVNation special. A young lady that has had an awful lot of impact on my life and a whole lot of other people's lives has announced that she is retiring. Cory Schaeffer, currently with QSC, is hanging up her headphones and her tweakers, and she is going to go enjoy some time with family, and I am incredibly happy for her. This is all about her. This is all about celebrating her and her life and her legacy. And with me to do that, because I am in no way, shape, or form qualified to do this by myself. First and foremost, Megan Dutta from rAVe Publications and the launch platform. Welcome, ma'am.
Hey, thanks for having me, Cory. I'm so excited to to ask you all these questions that I've always wanted to know.
Also with us is Dan Ferrisi from Commercial Integrator. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for having me, and it's wonderful to be part of this, Cory, and to celebrate your career and everything you've contributed and continue to contribute to our industry.
And the guest of honor, lady of the hour, Cory Schaeffer. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for having me. I hope I don't flub this. This is, somewhat. I'm super excited for this next chapter. And I'm really hoping I don't get too emotional leaving because I just love this industry so much,
And I would argue that this industry loves you as well. You've had an awful lot of impact. You've had a lot of positions, volunteer and in your day job, as it were. So first and foremost, we're going to kick this off and hand it to Megan Dutta and let her begin the conversation.
So Cory, I hope you wore waterproof mascara today. One of the things we've done, AVNation is doing this special, Commercial Integrator, Dan is doing a write-up about you, and rAVe put together a video montage of what you mean to people in the industry. We're not going to show the full thing today. That'll be on ravepubs.com, avnation.tv, and commercialintegrator.com coming up. We're going to roll some clips, so let's start with Joe Pham of QSC.
Hi, Cory. Oh my gosh. Congratulations on your retirement. I am truly, truly bummed that you are leaving us, but I'm so happy for you and for you to start this next part of your life. Super thankful for everything you've given to QSC, and really, really grateful that you chose to end the final years of your very storied career with us. And that means a lot to me, and it means a lot to so many of your teammates here at QSC. They say our industry is about relationships, and all of the great people in our industry, you, my friend, are on the top of that list. Okay. It's like everybody likes Cory. I know everybody likes Cory. And it's not because you're just nice. And even though you're a very, very nice person, it's because you've made such a great difference in so many people's lives for the better, including mine. So thank you, Cory, for everything that you've done. I wish you the very, very best going forward. Don't be a stranger to your family here at QSC. Okay, take care.
So Cory, what do you think?
So I love Joe Pham so much because he's just such a real guy. And when I made this decision, I actually wanted to communicate it directly to QSC, in person. And I was like, how much notice do you give? I don't really know. And I report up to Jason Moss, who's a really great guy. And we were going to do a team meeting in Costa Mesa. So I thought, well, I'm going to wait till I'm in Costa Mesa. I can see Jason face to face. So this will be about 30 days, notice, because I originally had planned to retire on April 1st. And I go down there and I said, hey, Jason, can I get about 15 minutes? So we walked the parking lot of QSC. And so we're walking, and he just did not see it coming. And so I tell him and I tell him in a way because he was laying out other opportunities for me, and I was just thanking him for that, but just saying, hey, I just don't think this is a time that I can do that. And matter of fact, as I began to think about the opportunities you're laying out, I made the decision to retire, and I wanted to retire on April 1st. And he just stopped and he goes, no. And I go, no? And he goes, no. And anyway, we talked it out, and then he's like, okay, I'm going to lunch with Joe. It'd be really great if you could tell Joe in person. And so anyway, I did tell Joe in person, and Joe is so cute. He said, Cory, are you sure? I mean, like, I've got 5 things to say to you. And then he rattled off, okay, 1, and then 2, and then he goes, 3. Okay, I only have 3 things to tell you. But it was kind of like, if it's you want maybe less time, or maybe you want to be a contract, or and when we were discussing it, he realized that the decision was made. But then he said, if you ever want to come back, you have a home here, which is just so incredible. And even when him laying out, I've got 5 things to tell you, and he rattles off and he goes, okay, just 3. It's just so real and authentic. And what Joe Pham really cares about, and why I think he's such an impactful leader at QSC, is that he wants people to be excited and love what they do. And he does care about this life-work balance very much, and he does care about, mindfulness. And it has been an honor really to work at QSC, but really to know Joe. And what people may not know is when I went to QSC, I did not know Joe Pham. Matter of fact, I called him up because he was on the board of Avixa, and I just said, hey, we don't know each other, but we run in many of the same circles. We know many of the same people, and I'd love the opportunity to get to know you. And he said, well, if you're ever in Costa Mesa, let's do lunch. I said, well, I'm in Costa Mesa a lot. So we went to lunch, and we came back to QSC, and he gave me a tour of the facility. And here's this guy who's he's just so authentic. He's in shorts, flip-flops. We're walking the manufacturing floor, and what really impacted me was he knew everyone's name on the manufacturing floor. And it wasn't a kind of, I'm going to spout off these names to impress. It was just, you know when somebody's authentic and real. And he just knew their names, right? And the reason I chose to join QSC, I was fortunate because he wanted me to join and put together an offer, but I wanted to go somewhere where the company and I shared the same values, and we do. And QSC, it has these values about life-work balance and what's in the best interest of people, and getting people really excited about what they do, and that passion. And it's not about this hierarchy like, hey, I'm the CEO, and so he is not that at all. He is the real deal, and it really has been it's been really eye-opening, because until I met a CEO like Joe Pham, I had never met a CEO like this guy, that wasn't about his position and, the chest pounding. He's not that at all, which I think reflects throughout the organization. He's an amazing guy. And I'm grateful that I'll always have a home there, because, I got to tell you, one wonders, like I saw the announcement from rAVe this week about Randy Klein. And, he retired in October, and now, he's kind of back with Excite, and that happens so much in our industry. And I kind of wonder, I don't think that is going to be me. I really don't think so. I'm so excited about this next chapter. I really don't think that's me. But it does kind of cause me to look and go, maybe we are, Hotel California, right? You can check in but never leave. I don't know. but it's good to know I have a home if I need one.
We have said for years that the AV industry is a lot like the mob. You think that you're out, but then they pull you back in.
Yeah. So true. A lot of people at ISC said, I don't see it. I don't believe it. I'll call you in 6 months. Okay.
Well, I've already told you, you have to still go to trade shows and make that your vacation.
Well, I got to tell you, some people don't know this, but I met the man I married, who I adore. We actually met at a trade show. So we met at an NAB show. And when we were planning to get married, so we got married, several years later, but when we were planning what is our date of marriage, we were working it around trade shows, because we have so many friends in the industry that, they're at InfoComm when it's their anniversary, right? So they're never home. So we're like, hey, we don't want to do that. So we were trying to work our wedding date around the industry events. And then I said, hey, why don't we just get married in Vegas again during the NAB show, because they're all our friends anyway, right? And we could kind of do an Elvis wedding or something, which they may not be doing that anymore, but then they were, you know, and he's like, no, not going to do that. But we kind of worked our wedding date around the industry events.
Cory, a question I have for you is, since QSC is such a wonderful home for you and you have nothing but great things to say about it, I know that the pandemic kind of was a moment of crystallization or a moment of revelation for you. And I think that kind of spurred, in some ways, your thinking about reorganizing your life priorities, deciding to retire. Can you share some insight into the pandemic and the extent to which that revealed maybe how you want to reprioritize your life and approach this next chapter?
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, COVID was a big reason why I made this decision. And my husband and I, throughout our whole relationship, you know, very focused on our careers, traveling, the crazy life. And I remember even right up until I think our state shut down like March 17th or something in 2020. But, you know, we had been to ISE, we get back, I went to an AV users group in the Bay Area. I mean, we were both just on this hamster wheel of work, you know, traveling. We had never spent, you know, even a month solid together because just life was crazy. And then COVID hits and everything shuts down. And when COVID first hit, I personally was very, you know, afraid of, okay, what is this, right? We're just hearing how bad it was. And so both my husband and I were home and we were working, and I thought, how's this going to go? Because we've never spent this much time together. And what happened was really beautiful because I adore him, but the more time I spend with him, including 24/7 nonstop, I mean, it was wonderful. It was wonderful in every way. And, you know, we actually thought this was only going to last maybe a couple of months, right? But it just went on. And quite frankly, right, we're still in it. And so when that happened, I mean, I had never experienced it, so I didn't know how great it felt. And it was amazing. And then in our family, we have, you know, aging parents. And so on his side, his mother's having some health challenges, and she's in her 90s, and we realize just how important it is, you know, when you can't see somebody because of COVID, you're not allowed to travel, and you're just afraid to even bring something to somebody that's older. We just realize how important that time is. And it's, you know, and my parents in Montana, I didn't see them for 18 months. And I just really miss them. And quite frankly, until it happened, I had not missed them like that, you know, before. And then I have 4 grandchildren under the age of 5, and not seeing them, it just caused you to kind of reprioritize. And then in late November of just last year, 2021, I had one of my very closest friends die of COVID. And so I did her service in Utah in December and watched her 20-year-old sons, you know, really put this service together and arrange everything. And I just remember sitting there just thinking, you know, what is it all for, right? I mean, yes, I love work and I love QSC, but it really began to kind of think through, you know, what really is important. And I'm really grateful for COVID, to be honest. I'm really grateful to be able to get this shift, to be able to spend time with my husband, and to really think about what is important in life. And certainly family and friends are important, you know, and making that a priority when I feel like I really didn't do that throughout my career. I mean, when you have kids and you're building a company and in a career and you're married, you know, I just kind of felt through the whole time that you're just always letting somebody down. You're letting work down, your kids down. You're just not able to give everybody 100%. You're just juggling it. And so we began to look at how can we spend more time with family? And we met with, you know, of course, your financial advisors, you know, and kind of go through that. And you know, people like, you know, you guys can. And like, I didn't believe it at first. So I, of course, got a second opinion, even though Tim had, you know, 7 spreadsheets every different way, convincing me, you know, I'm like, you know, and then you can. And then when we realized that, we just sat down and went, why wouldn't we? And I'm a personality that's kind of all in. So when Joe and Jason Moss said to me, maybe you can contract, or maybe you want to just scale back a little bit. Is that something of interest? And I just said, I don't know, but I do know myself. And I'm kind of in this next chapter, I want to be all in. I don't want to be doing something and then have to get back for a 2:00 conference call commitment that I made. So I want to put family and friends as the priority and just be all in and see what that's like. And I don't think mentally or emotionally I would have gotten there had COVID not happened, which is why for me, COVID was really a good thing, to really sit back and ponder, because when you're on the hamster wheel doing the work, it's really hard to think from that perspective. And I'm really grateful for it.
I would say that you're probably one of the few people who would say that they're grateful for COVID, but I do love the story. I want to come back for a second, because one of the things that I admire most about Cory is your promotion of other people. And what I mean by that is Cory is fantastic, and she's wonderful to hang out with, and all three of us have thousands of stories, and other people have probably thousands more. But you are one of those folks who you see someone and you see something in someone else, and you're like, you need to go talk to them, or we need to have this person on stage, or this person needs to write this. At QSC, you introduced me to Anna Santos, who I just think the world of, and I appreciate the introduction. You've promoted folks like Brandy Alvarado. You've promoted Kelly Perkins, Megan, several people. Talk for a second about the importance of not just women in the industry. Certainly that is one of your titles, right? But just the importance of promoting others in service of being a good human, but also in service of the community and of the industry.
Well, first of all, thanks for the kind words. And I'd probably say that I've not always been that way, right? Because I think you go through phases in your career when it's like you just want to be seen, and I also think as a young woman in the industry, there are times when you're not seen. I actually read something on Twitter today where it said, like, this woman is talking to a repairman, and he's intrigued, and she's having this great interaction with him. Then her husband shows up. Conversation shifts, goes automatically to her husband, right? And she's like, so she made the decision to hire a different repairman, right? That was just something I read this morning. But so I would say that I probably wasn't always like that, because I think all of us, we just want to be seen, and we all just want to contribute. So I'm not really sure how I got there, Tim, but I feel like early on in my career, I wasn't seen, and there were people that could have uplifted me and maybe didn't. And so that kind of caused me, when you're walking in somebody else's shoes and you see that, and you come across other people that would be better suited, for AVNation to interview or to be on a panel, or, etc. I just feel it's an obligation to put other people forth, and what is shocking to me is, let's just talk about a few things like Anna at QSC. This woman is so accomplished, but yet most of the industry doesn't really know her. And I've tried, I've nominated her probably 5 times for the AV Women's Award for Infocom, and she didn't get it selected, and I feel guilty about that, because it's about how you write the nomination forms, because all they have to go off of is how you write it. But it's like, how can this woman not get that, right? And there's just so many young, and I don't know, there's just so many other people that the industry doesn't know, but yet should know, because, and it's kind of also, at this age and being in this industry for this long, it's time to take a step back, to be honest. There's so many, even on my own immediate little working team within QSC, these people are so fabulous and so much smarter and faster than I am. And I think at this point, when you kind of been in it a while, I'm noticing it, it's taken me a while, even on this immediate team, to learn some of these new things that my team is working on. Because it's, I'm just older and slower at this point, And I think I saw that when I started my career as well. There were people kind of at the tail end of their career. And, sometimes people hang on a little too long, and I just thought, I want to get out before I become that, as well. So I don't know really how to answer that question, Tim. It's just that there are a lot of people. We did an exercise at QSC once, and we do many things at QSC that are so amazing. Like we do a mini MBA program when I joined. There's lots of times where they'll bring in an outside consultant to have people understand what their purpose is. And I was in this workshop, and I was really intimidated because I was new at QSC, and it was a workshop to figure out what your purpose is, and so just you can kind of understand where your strengths are and what you're really good at. And Joe Pham was in my work group, and I was nervous about that because he's the CEO, and even though he's kind of a cool, unassuming, really approachable guy, still this is getting really, you're vulnerable because you're really opening up in this intimate small group. And but what was cool is the outcome of it was I'm a connector. That's what I learned through this little workshop. It's like, I'm a connector. And Joe Pham's like, you are a connector. I can totally see that. And I'm like, I can too. And I was really proud of that. And I want to be that.
And you are that. And through your work, you've introduced so many people to so many good things. And one of the groups that treasures that is HETMA. So we're going to run a clip from Joe Way.
Hey, Cory, oh my gosh, what an amazing career and achievements you have had. This is just an honor to talk to you because, when I moved from live events into higher education, you were the one who said just the inspiring things that I needed in order to know that I could be successful. There are people that come into your life all the time. And then there's others who come into your life and change it for the better. And that has been you. I know that I wouldn't be successful if it weren't for the encouragement you have always given and shown to me personally. And I cannot thank you enough for that. And that's why HETMA has been so proud. And the second we heard that you were retiring, that we wanted to name one of our PRISM scholarships in your honor. And we could not imagine a better thing to do to have our inaugural scholarship, the Cory Schaeffer Scholarship for the PRISM women and underrepresented demographics, because you have been that inspiration to everyone in this industry. We love you. You will be missed, but we are all in a better place and a better industry because of you.
Really, back at you.
I hate saying that I agree with Joe Way, but I agree with Joe Way.
Joe, he actually, we were at an AVIXA Women's Council event at QSC, and I pulled him aside to tell him I was retiring, and it was like at that event, he's just like, oh my God, when this is public, let me know, because here's what I'd like to do is put forth to the board naming a scholarship after you. And I'm just like, oh my God. I mean, that night as I was leaving the event, I couldn't wait to call Tim Schaeffer, go, guess what? I haven't known Joe that long, but I've got to tell you, I feel like he's inspiring and so motivating. I first met him at a NAMM show. I was there in the QSC booth, and he came by. He was doing a video of products for in higher ed or whatever, and did an interview, and I kind of flubbed it. I didn't really know the product that well. I kind of flubbed it, and so I'm like, can we do a retake? And yeah, I love Joe Way, and this means so much to me. Actually, it's quite an honor.
HETMA isn't the only group that you've done work for. You've done so much for AVIXA, and we'll talk about the AVIXA Women's Council later. But talk about your work with AVIXA and serving on the board, and how humble brag about how you created change there, because I think you've changed a lot.
So when I was on the board, it was called Infocom, and as an association, and I was so honored to be nominated to serve on the board, because they appoint some members and then nominate some. And it was like the first year where they went from a really large board down to, I think there were 12. And it was great. And I was excited, really selfishly for myself, because to learn from these board members, and these people that were just really doing amazing things in the industry. And so I actually served 2 terms on the board, and I felt like my first term was all really about learning. And because when you serve, it's about, managing the budget and the direction of the association and all of that. And it was, a really large budget, and really large responsibility. And it was really great to serve And then I felt like my first year I mostly learned and didn't contribute enough. And then that second year I kind of clicked in and go, okay, I got it, and began to be very vocal and not just, kind of go along with things, because I feel like whenever we're invited to serve around, especially a board, you have an obligation to not just agree with everything, but create a little bit of good dialogue, right? So that we challenge some of the decisions, so that we get good decisions out of decisions being challenged, and having good discussion around it. And being on the board, man, did I make some lifelong friendships. So one of them was, well, I've got several. I mean, Mark Valente, who was started the Sexton Group. He's now then he was N5, and he's since retired. He's a consultant, and if you know consultants in this industry, they're like lawyers. Their time is billable, right? So I had missed the orientation because I was somewhere else, and so they send you this huge binder, and so I called Mark, who is chairman of the board, and I asked if he would onboard me and help me get up to speed. He gave me, again, billable hours. Mark Valente gave me probably a good 2 hours, and I was able to ask all these questions, and he did it in a way where I felt comfortable asking any question, and he just made my time on there just really great. And then at that time also Jay Regina was on the board, Tony Warner was on the board, Scott Walker was on the board, Matt Emerson was on the board, who's amazing. I mean, just to be able to interact with, Jim Ford was on the board, right? So to be able to interact with them in a manner of the association, and leaving your own business and your own self-interest at the door, was an incredible experience. And I'm so grateful, that I had it. And I was so grateful I got that, second term as well. And what's so awesome is we're still this great group that just connects. Matter of fact, Mark Valente sent an email out, I think it was last week, and he had found some old swag from an Infocom event or a VIX event that had happened in Russia, and kind of talking, he was sending this email out to this group of us who we served together, and he was just talking about what's happening with Russia and Ukraine, and gee, I don't know whether I should throw these out now, right? Or, kind of what I should do. And it just kind of created this dialogue, but I was able to kind of chime in and say, hey, Mark, guess what? Retiring. And he retired just a couple of years ago. So he came back with all this really wonderful advice for me, which, I'm taking it in, for sure. And then I could see some latecomers coming in, so that time was really great. And just, Avixa, well, our industry in general is about community. We have this great community, right? It feels like a family reunion when we all get together, because we are a family. But when you volunteer to serve and I think one of the reasons maybe why I was elected and served on the board was I first served on the Manufacturing Council. And that's where I first met Randy Bagman. He was leading it, and he was the chairman of the council. So, I'm vocal, I get on, and I get to know Randy, and then we're really focused, what can we do for manufacturers within the association? And so that was such a great experience. And then being able to serve on the board, and then, kind of exiting out here with the Avixa Women's Council, and, just, we're about community, and so getting in and volunteering and serving the community, what I can say is that I got so much more out of it than what I gave, because the generosity of the community, it's like the gift that keeps on giving. Once they get to know you, and then something comes up in business and you can reach out, you've now got these really great relationships. I definitely got so much more out of the volunteer opportunities that I had than I gave, I think.
I know you feel that way, but I don't know that others feel that way, because Dave Labuskis had some wonderful things to say about you and your contributions to Avixa. So let's roll that clip.
Cory, I'm so happy for you. I know that you have worked your entire career to get to a point where you could stop working. And what an amazing career it's been. The capabilities and talent that you have shared, both technically and from a business perspective for the industry, have made the AV industry a better industry, a more professional industry. That's about the industry. As far as Avix is concerned, I only have a few seconds to talk to you and to list everything you've given to our industry and our association would take a day, would take days. Your contributions for everything that you've done for the women's group, for our board, just in general, making the industry a more loving and joyful place has been amazing. And selfishly, from myself, I just want to say thank you. I remember meeting you for the first time in the boardroom about 4 hours after I had started in this job. And I thought to myself after meeting you that that's an amazing person and someone that is full of energy and passion and sincere caring and authenticity. And what I experienced in that first introduction to you has carried through in every time that we've interacted. And I thank you for making my life richer during your time in this industry and hope that you have a joyous and wonderful experience in the next chapter of your life.
Thank you, Dave.
Continuing, under the rubric of Avixa, I want to talk a bunch more about the Avixa Women's Council. I think it's such an important organization. I know you, Cory, have been a mentee of many during your career, and you've been a mentor to many. And I think that it's important to you, it's important to the industry as a whole to invite more women in, show them a path to success, show them that people can be, world changers in the context of the AV community. So can you talk a little bit about the vision of the Avixa Women's Council, what your contributions to it have been, what you've taken away from it, and how you feel like it's going to make a difference on a long-term basis, even after you've left the industry, to show those paths to success, to diversify our industry?
Okay, well, there are a lot of there are a lot of things to comment on there, Dan. So I'll do my best. So, um, what I learned by serving on the Manufacturers Council and serving on the board is that our industry is a volunteer industry. So I remember going to an Infocom show and doing the Avixa Women's Council or Women's Breakfast, and it had been maybe 1 or 2 years, maybe even 3 when we did those, and I remember leaving Infocom that experience in June, and here I started at QSC in October of that same year. So it was 2015. I remember that year. And I'm thinking, this Avixa Women's Breakfast is so awesome, right? We get to connect. We usually, we have a great speaker and we get to see these other women in a room and men supporting women in this room. How I want to do this more than once a year. Why don't we carry it on? And I'm talking to myself like, Avixa needs to, do that. And then I just kind of paused myself and said, Avixa is made up of volunteers, right? So things happen in an association when volunteers get together and decide to do something. So I didn't ask for permission. I just decided to go for it. I thought, okay, I'm going to hold a local group because we should be meeting locally. We should be doing this all year long. Why aren't we? And so I didn't really know the culture of QSC very well because I'd just gotten there and I wanted to do it. So, but I thought if we're going to get together, we're going to need to have drinks, etc. And some companies don't allow drinks on prem. I've since learned that's not a problem at QSC, but I didn't know it then. And, I didn't want to come in as the newbie and ask that. So I just wanted to do it. So I call up my pal, Randy Pagnon at RP Visual, and I say, hey, Randy, here's what I want to do. So I want to use your venue, and we're going to bring in drinks, et cetera. And I want to carry on what we did at Infocom locally. And he goes, I think it's a great idea. And matter of fact, I'm gonna give you Brandy Alvarado, now Brandy Alvarado Mirandez. So I'm like, awesome. He goes, she'll help you. So that's also how I got connected with Brandy. So not only did she help, but right, she's been amazing and basically took over, which was awesome. So we did that first meeting, and the first one was a kind of a networking event. We had probably, 16 to 18 women show up. And it was just like, okay, here's the idea. Let's get together on a regular basis locally. But what do we want to do? So this is all of us. So collectively, what are you guys interested in? And it just kind of began from there. And now we're like at 60-ish groups globally, which is super cool because we just started it in Southern California, and then Brandy became the chair of the Avixa Women's Council, and we're off to the races, etc. So, such a great experience to do it once a year, but it's much better experience when you can do it all year. And then again, during COVID, a lot of these events were virtual, so you could be, instead of just doing your Southern California event, you could do the New York event as well. You could do whatever event, and it's just kind of, expanded, and, now they're cruising. So, I think it's really important to, Dan, you and I talked earlier in the month kind of about women in the industry, and yeah, it's been a passion of mine. It's been a fight that I've always fought, and I started it when I first started my career, which was 1988, and I was asked to be on a council at the AES convention, the Audio Engineering Society, and to talk about women, how do we get more women in, and I began to kind of start to think about it then, and I'm really grateful that happened so early on in my career, because it began to really think about it, because I was new to the industry, completely green, wet behind the ears, but it planted a seed. And then when I served on that council, I think the number of women in the industry, it was like single digits. Now, I'm hearing numbers of we're double digit, but we're still low double digit. And this really bothers me because I have 2 daughters. I've been in this industry since 1988. I've been fighting the fight, and we're still like 14%. Are you kidding me? Like, I had said I wanted to exit with the numbers being more like 52%. And, some people giggle and smile, but think about the global makeup of the world. That is a realistic number, and that's what it should be. And so that is my biggest disappointment, that we're, 14%? Are you kidding me? After, again, 1988, boom, 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 boom. It has always been there. And I've always been, and I think maybe 2020, I think we started to see finally a little bit of a hockey, a lot more attention, we're seeing it. And I felt like at ISE this year, quite honestly, walking the halls, I saw more women than ever. And I've had so many awesome experiences from ISE with women that I'll share. We can cut it out if we like. But one of them was, I had just taken my grandson to Legoland. He's super into Legos. And I had taken him to Legoland, and I was more excited probably than anybody to take him. So then following that, I go to ISE, and my husband, who I adore, was in the elevator. I went over to the show. He was in the elevator of our hotel. He's coming down. There's this woman in the elevator with him. So he's like, hey, you here for the convention? Yeah, I'm here for the convention. He goes, hey, I'm going to get a taxi. You want a taxi over together? And she goes, well, I'm actually going to stop at a Lego store before I head over. And then I'm headed over, and he goes, Lego, you're going to a Lego store? He tells her, hey, just went to Lego, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, yeah, I work for Lego. And I'm like, what? And then she says, nobody take leads from this interview, but basically she says, I'm in charge of digital transformation for all the Lego retail stores, right? So digital signage, the music in the stores, kind of like all this stuff. And so she said, do you have any advice about who I should see? And he goes, boy, do I. You got to go see my wife, who works for QSC. They have this platform called QSys. Okay, it was great. And then he snaps it with me, introduces us by email, and we connect. This woman is phenomenal, man. She is young. She is smart. She came out of like CDW distribution, and now she's got this amazing role. Okay, so super connection there. Another funny one, again, Tim Schaeffer. So he comes to me at the show, and I'm working the Google Meet booth, and he says, hey, here's a card. And he said, I met this woman, and I don't want to flub it, but she's about women in live music or live events. And I know like Sure's a sponsor, and she has a survey that she wants people to contribute to the survey because she's trying to get data. So he said, oh, I want to introduce you to my wife. But she's, over in Hall 2, at the Google stand, and, blah, blah, blah. And he had given me her card, and he said, it'd be really great if you guys could try to connect. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll try, but, I was busy. Well, so I'm leaving it for the trade show, and I step out to get a taxi, and they're like, no taxi. So I'm like thinking about, I'm waving one down, and I get one. And then I see this woman in the corner of my eye, and I said, hey, are you headed over to the convention center? She said, I am. I said, come on, share a taxi. So we're in the taxi, we're cruising to the show, and she says to me, I ask her who she's with. She's telling me about her cause and what she's doing. And I'm like, oh, it's so cool, because I'm involved with Women of Avixa. And then she said, who do you work for? I said, QSC. She goes, is your husband work for Alan Heath? And is his name Tim? I go, it is. And she said, I met him yesterday. And she said, he said we should get together. So how awesome was that we're like able to share this taxi together, right? So then that night I send off an email to Susan and Brandy and Tammy with the Avixa Women's Council for the local Southern California group. I go, here's their survey. We got to help them get their numbers up. Let's spread the word, through our groups, et cetera. So I am seeing more women, certainly, and again at ISC was really a great experience, but we need more women sitting around the boardroom table, right? It needs to be half of the room, not one or two. It needs to be half of the room, and we need to see women in leadership roles, not just supportive roles, and I would say that, yep, been focused on it, did a lot, but not enough, because I'm really regretful that we don't have higher numbers. I'm really regretful for that.
I think it's a wonderful thing, though, that people like Brandy, people like you have meaningfully bent the arc. There's still so much more to be done, but I think you've successfully bent the arc. And I think we're on a trajectory that in some number of years in the future, we're going to get to that parity that we need to achieve.
Let's have those be single-digit years, okay? Single-digit years.
I believe Megan has some comments from Brandy, correct?
Yeah, let's roll the clip, Mitchell.
Cory, it's been my honor to work alongside you over the last 6 years building the Women's Council. Many don't know the story, but in 2015, I was working at RPV and Cory was at Listen at the time. We collaborated annually on an Infocom consultants event where I was the event coordinator and you and the marketer as well. That event went so well that lo and behold, Cory asked if I could help coordinate a Women of Infocom, or WIN, as we were originally called, event. Cory, you persuaded me to take on a huge role during the Women's of Infocom's first networking event. I immediately was nervous, thinking that I was biting off far more than I could chew. And I can honestly say that I've had that feeling ever since, kind of. I've contemplated this many times as I became a leader on the council, then the chair, and on the membership services committee now, with your encouragement. Why did I take all this on? Why? All I can say was, and is that it was really all Cory's fault. She encouraged me to do so. Your enthusiasm, strength, poise are so contagious. I've said this so many times, but I want to grow up to be just like you. During one mentoring session, I'll never forget, you asked me what my why is. Why? What's your why? At that time, I was still thinking that I'd taken on far too much and that I wasn't accomplishing much as I had hoped as the council chair. But you sat me down and you gave me some feedback that I'll never forget. You said that anything I wanted, I could do. You told me to go for it, that everything that I needed was within my power, and that all I had to do was just take the leap, and not look back. Fail forward, you said. That's easier said than done, but I did. I took the leap and I took on more and more, and I was amazed how incredible that felt. You've taught me so much, but failing forward is probably the best lesson and the greatest gift that you taught me. So Cory, I'm going to give you the same advice. Take the leap. I know that you are scared shitless to retire, but you deserve this and so much more. You have done so much for everyone in this council, for the women in the AV industry. And I just want to thank you for all your contributions and for being my friend, mentor, inspiration, and confidant. I wish you all the best and I love you so much. Love you.
God, her nails look great too. Here's what I'll say back at Brandy, back at you. I mean, we got paired. Avixa put this mentoring program together, and as we began talking about it, I just said, Brandy, you're my mentor, because she has skills that I just don't, and she's just super real, and we'll say it straight up. And we also have this trust, And so we were just like, I don't know if we're allowed to do, I'm not sure if this is what Avixa had in mind, because we already know each other and we are already kind of tied, but we did it. What was cool about the Avixa mentoring program is that it's formal, right? So it caused you to meet, on a regular basis and kind of follow a guideline. And it was great. And she's contributed a ton to me, and she is my personal friend, and even though I'm exiting the industry, I'm obviously keeping the friendships, going. So I'm sure I'll still be, pinging her with, needing advice and stuff, because she's just really been amazing. And our industry has gotten so much out of her leadership. I mean, wow. Wow. She has done so much. And even though she's now not the chair, she's just still right in there, and she's done so much to help, the other two chairs, fill her very big shoes. She's an amazing one.
So Cory, as we kind of wrap this up, this is not the end by any stretch of the imagination. Take a look back and either give yourself, your 20-something self, some advice, or give a 20-something woman in the industry who's starting out now advice on what would you hope to impart to somebody who's just starting out?
I think Brandy kind of said it right. Fail forward, right? So kind of like, what do you have to lose? So many of us, we are our biggest obstacle. So we have to get out of our own way and seek help from this wonderful community we have in this industry of people, because every time I reached out to somebody for advice or help, they were right there and willing to give it. So have the courage to reach out and have the courage to fail forward. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I mean, I've kind of always said, even though my career in this industry has been really important to me, but it's just AV. We're not in a life, we're not saving lives here. I mean, it's just AV. So what is the worst thing that can happen? So, and if you fail, we all learn so much more than by things that don't go well than things that go perfectly well, right? So just be willing and have the courage to kind of step out of that comfort zone, because it feels good, and you'll be better for it.
All right. To really kind of put a bow on this, we've got a handful of folks who also wanted to say something, and this is a group of people that you've had an impact on the most, I would say, over the last 30 or 40 years of your life. So Mitchell.
Hey, Cory girl. Hey, we're so proud of you, so excited for you. You are just a strong, inspiring role model. Cory, without you and your guidance, I wouldn't have found my career in the audio industry and doing installations. You're one of the most encouraging, thoughtful people. Thank you for everything you've done and that you continue to do for us.
Like Sarah said, with your guidance, you have taught us to be strong women. And not only do you lift up the people in the AV industry, but your friends and family can always count on you for selfless love. And that's just you. That's just you, Coco. You're awesome.
Not only are we so proud of you, we are so excited for all the babysitting you'll be doing.
Yay! We love you, Cory girl.
Hello, Karina. Wow, this is such an amazing time. I've been so inspired by all your friends in the industry showing their love and support for you and congratulating you on your next phase in life. But mostly I've been inspired by you. Every day since the day I've met you, you've continued to impress. Your love of life and passion for your friends in the industry is truly awe-inspiring. Your industry friends know you as passionate, kind, supportive, and willing to do whatever it takes to help your friends with whatever they need. And I know this to be true. You truly are something special in this world. A force of nature is a term used a lot when people talk about you, and I believe that. You light up the room just by walking into it. You're incredibly kind and supportive of everyone you meet. I can't speak for the whole industry, but for you, or for me, and for our children, you've given us so much love and joy. You've already changed our lives so much. You've been an amazing role model for our children, and they love you for it. These last 30 years with you has been nothing short of amazing, and I'm excited to spend the next phase with you. Thank you for being, well, for being you and for being my best friend. I adore you and I love you so much. See you soon.
Nice wrap up, guys. Nice wrap up. Wow. And they kept it a secret because I know when Sarah was down here, because that's in Sally's house.
So the first two voices, if you're listening to the audio version of that, was Cory's daughters, two of their kids. And then, of course, is the young man that at least Cory has referred to since I've known her as her boyfriend.
Mr. Tim Schaeffer. Best thing that ever happened to me.
I'd argue that he would say the same thing about you. So.
Thank you, guys.
Still tearing up. I think you've just had such an impact on everyone I know in the industry. So I just want to say thank you and I love you. And this is not goodbye. It's just
see you later.
See you later.
All it is
yeah.
I've been telling my peeps at QSC, This is not a goodbye, please. It's just see you later.
And I know, Cory, that it's really core to you to be about the AV community. You're very relationship oriented. And I think it's kind of fitting that, ostensible competitors like Launch Code and AVNation and Commercial Integrator all coming together in a unified front as an AV community to celebrate you as, a vanguard and a leader in the community. So I feel like it's of a piece with what you stand for. It's about people coming together as one.
Dan, I adore you.
Wait a minute. You guys are competitors? Crap. I screwed up again. All right.
No. Frenemies. I adore you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. At this point in these broadcasts, I typically say something about following people. Go follow Cory on Twitter. I don't care about the rest of us. She has daily inspiring quotes, and I have no doubt that she'll continue those in the RV or wherever she is in the world. So, Megan, go ahead and tell folks where they can find you.
You can find me at ravepubs.com and lunch.com/lunch code. That's LAVNCH. And on Twitter at Megan A. Dutta. But like Tim said, this is about Cory, so please go follow Cory and connect with her and congratulate her.
Mr. Ferrisi?
I second that. Primarily just follow Cory, but if you do want to find me, you can always go to commercialintegrator.com. And if you want to find me on Twitter, it's at Dan Ferrisi Edit, where I retweet and share a lot of Cory's stuff because it's better than mine.
Cory,
Please follow me into retirement. Woo!
You have the last word on that.
Please follow me into retirement. Seriously, it's going to be a blast.
That's the way we do it. Thank you guys so much. This is Tim Albright for AVNation. That young lady is Cory Schaeffer and had a hopefully big impact on all of us